All right. So I finally got around to part two of the FBI vehicle surveillance techniques. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it and start reading off of the website, and then we'll discuss some of the photos as we get into them. Vehicle surveillance. All right. Let's get into this right here. This is the second article in a 5-part series that teaches you how to respond when confronted by FBI wheel artists and the FBI's floating box system of vehicle surveillance. If you haven't already read the first article, please return to our homepage and click on the FBI Vehicle Surveillance 1. All right, so let's see. Let's get right into it where it starts right over here. It says right here, the story up to now. In the previous article, you learned about the FBI's floating box system. You saw how FBI agents don't just follow you, they surround you. You also found out about the different functions of each vehicle in the surveillance team: command, backup, outriders, and advance. You also discovered how the FBI's stakeout box operates. You learned how the trigger vehicle signals the layup vehicle to pick up the follow when the target drives away. Even more important, you learned about command of the target. You saw how a cheating command vehicle is located in front of the target. You learned how a commit vehicle is located at a decision point. You saw how the commit vehicle is used to cue a layup vehicle to enter the situation and assume command of the target. What you'll learn next here is, in this tutorial, you'll learn about the mechanical modifications that the FBI makes to its surveillance vehicles. You'll see how these modifications give the surveillance team an advantage over you, the target. You'll also see how members of the surveillance team, aka gang stalkers, communicate with each other. You'll learn why you never see them talking. You'll see graphic examples of teamwork and tactics utilized by the surveillance team. You'll learn how they handle intersection U-turns, returning to a parked car, and other situations. You'll also discover how the vehicle surveillance team supports the activities of the foot surveillance team. Looks like what we have here first are vehicle modifications. The FBI employs a potpourri of different vehicles in its surveillance operations. Wheel artists drive everything and anything, including sedans, coupes, station wagons, pickup trucks, vans, minivans, sport utility vehicles, taxis, motorcycles, commercial trucks, ambulances, 18-wheelers, and others. Many of these surveillance vehicles have been specially modified for their role. See the illustration below. Now let's go over how some of these vehicles are set up. And we'll just go clockwise, starting from the bottom, on reinforced rear bumper. And then over to heavy duty battery. And then we got top quality shocks. I suppose that's to help to assist in the steering, I would imagine. Reinforced bumper. So that helps to protect the gang stalker when they are told to purposely get into an accident with a target. Heavy duty radiator. Now, that I can only imagine is so that the car can withstand a certain amount of damage and keep going. Controllable headlamps. I think we all know about that by now. Heavy duty steering pump. So that kind of reinforces what I said about these vehicles being equipped and designed so that they can uh, make evasive action. And so that would mean a lot of steering. And then here at the end, controllable brake lights. Huh. Now, I experienced a car just recently, not too long ago, where the only tail light that was working was the one that you see in the rear window. The back tail lights were not working at all. I don't know if they were controlled or not, but either way, it was just sketch. And then the guy was kind of like setting me up for an accident, so I got away from him right away. Anyways, let's continue. Probably the most significant modification is the addition of cutout switches and dimmer switches for many of the lights on the surveillance vehicle. Headlamps. The driver can disable either of the front headlamps. He can also adjust the brightness of the headlamps. This provides a tremendous advantage at night. The agent, or gang stalker, can alter the way his or her vehicle appears to other drivers. For part of the follow, the surveillance vehicle has two normal headlamps. For a while, it might show only the left headlamp, and for a part of the follow, the vehicle might exhibit dimmed headlamps, suggestive of a faulty alternator or low battery condition. Many unwitting targets of surveillance have been completely hoodwinked by this feature. Brake lights. The FBI agent can also disable the vehicle's brake lights. This is particularly effective when the agent has a cheating command of the target. That means the FBI agent is positioned ahead of the target, and if the agent's brake lights are not continually flashing, the target is less likely to detect that the agent is adjusting her speed in order to maintain a constant distance in front of the target. Again, many targets have been fooled by this modification. Stall switch. Some FBI surveillance vehicles are equipped with a stall switch. This allows the wheel artist, aka gang stalker, to simulate a vehicle broken or breakdown. This deception is particularly effective in helping the FBI recover from mistakes during a follow. Stalled in front of the target vehicle and apparently unable to get the vehicle restarted, an FBI agent is able to delay the target until the rest of the surveillance team gets back in position. I would imagine that's even the case with some of the street theater and or accidents that we see too, that slow down traffic. Here we go. Bumpers. FBI surveillance vehicles can be equipped with reinforced ramming bumpers. They are effective when agents need to prevent a suspect from fleeing, force a victim off the road at high speed. All right, so pretty much even what the cops do, right? When they do the pit maneuver. Here we go, standard modifications. Let's see what we got. Because of the stress involved in constant on-road use, FBI mechanics routinely make a number of standard modifications to the vehicle's surveillance vehicles. They often install a heavy-duty radiator and battery. A heavy-duty steering pump is also a common feature. These, along with top-quality shocks and springs, enhance the staying power of the vehicle during long follows. One of the contacts has recently told us that the FBI uses stainless steel brake lines in many of its surveillance vehicles. This modification apparently boosts performance by overcoming certain types of condensation and heat-related problems during some weather conditions. Okay. Driver communications. Okay, here we go. A typical radio transmission between FBI wheel artists goes something like this: Gamma is flipping, possible spark or smoke. In plain language, this means the target vehicle has just made a U turn. He may have detected us. By using communication codes, the FBI is able to reduce the chances of an eavesdropper figuring out what's going on. Anyone picking up on a stray signal is unlikely to realize that it's from a surveillance team. For examples of surveillance team communication codes, return to our homepage and click on surveillance codes. And it's time for me to take a drink of water. And just something to mention to other TIs, I do take bentonite clay, which helps to detox your body from heavy metals. And when you do take it, you need to make sure you're drinking lots of water. And it'll help to expel your body of all those heavy metals that are inside your system. Okay, so now here we are at here we go. Why you never see them communicating. FBI agents are trained to conceal their voice communications. Often, two agents will be riding in one vehicle in order to disguise a radio transmission. The agent in the passenger seat will turn his or her head towards the driver while transmitting. If you're stopped at a red light ahead of the FBI surveillance vehicle, all you see in the rearview mirror is two people who appear to be talking to each other. During a surveillance operation, FBI agents can use either their body rigs or the vehicle radio sets for transmitting. The body rig includes a standalone internally mounted earpiece that is virtually undetectable unless you're looking for it. The effective range of the FBI's standard body rig is much less than their vehicle radio sets. Both the body rig and the vehicle set offer hands-free operation. Case study. Here we go. Hostile situation. When an FBI agent finds him or herself alone in a congested traffic situation with the target, and perhaps under close visual scrutiny by a suspicious target, she can still transmit critical information to the team leader. She simply clicks her tongue instead of talking. Here's an example. Wheel artist. Numerous clicks, so I'm guessing like something like this. And controller is going to say, "Is that you, Echo?" Wheel artist. 2 clicks, yes. Controller, are you in command of the target? 2 clicks, yes. Controller, has the target made contact with the other suspect yet? And so silence means no. Controller, is the target not in contact with the suspect? And the wheel artist, with 2 clicks, meaning yes. So there's an example of how they may do yes and no's. Okay. Here we go. Real-time communication. Look at this diagram. Wow. The FBI has found that agent-to-agent communication in real time is a vital component of a productive productive surveillance operation. Real-time communication gives the surveillance team a tactical advantage over the target. The illustration shown below provides a good example of this principle. So here we go. There's, on the far left, there's Alpha. That's the Alpha gang stalker. And then we got to the top, the Bravo gang stalker. Over here to the far right, there's Charlie. And here we go. Target walking to a parked vehicle. So the target is indicated by the blue vehicle. And then here's a cheating trigger. So a vehicle that gets in front of the target. And then over here we have delta. And so what this looks like is so that no matter which way the target goes, one of these vehicles will be able to follow behind you. Huh. The FBI has found that agent-to-agent communication in real time is a vital component. Oh, I'm sorry, I already ran through that. We're down at the bottom now. Here we go. But yeah, what a diagram, huh? As the target walks back towards his parked vehicle, the various members of the vehicle surveillance team take up positions in a standard stakeout box. Note how layup vehicles Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta are facing away from the target's vehicle, ready to pick up the follow and assume command of the target no matter which direction the target takes. So exactly what I said. Equally important is the trigger vehicle, as shown in the illustration above. One of the ruses the FBI uses is to pull in and park ahead of the target's parked vehicle. This is called a cheating trigger. Being in front of the target, the FBI agent is less likely to attract suspicion, but he is still in a position to cue other members of the surveillance team when the target begins to drive away. This makes for a seamless transition from the foot surveillance team to the vehicle surveillance team. And in particular, the trigger vehicle transmits the start time, direction of travel, and speed of the target's vehicle to the other members of the surveillance team. The appropriate layup vehicle can smoothly pick up the follow and assume command of the target because he has advanced knowledge of the target's direction, etc., thanks to the radio transmission from the FBI agent in the trigger vehicle. The lesson is obvious. Your adversary is the entire surveillance team, not just the FBI agents you happen to spot. Exposing the FBI's secrets. Here we go. Basic tactics. Cover. Camouflage is an important component of an FBI vehicle surveillance operation. FBI agents drive anything and everything, including sedans, coupes, utility vehicles, vans, trucks, four-wheel drive, minivans, commercial trucks, taxis, motorcycles, and even 18-wheelers. Likewise, the FBI agents themselves come in all shapes and sizes. You'll see many different silhouettes. That's spy talk for the personal appearance of an agent. When you're under FBI surveillance, you can expect to see singles, couples, families, seniors, disabled, rappers, and so on. Anybody with the pulse might be part of an FBI surveillance team. A common mistake. If you're like most people, you might be thinking to yourself, there's no way they'd use a sweet little 60-year-old grandmother. Yeah, right. Grow up and stop being such a patsy. The FBI loves rubes like you. Or maybe you're thinking, no way they'd use a punk rapper with cranked up music blaring from his car stereo. Uh-huh. Start packing your toothbrush, doofus, because the goons don't give you much time when they come a-knocking an hour before dawn. I guess that's his way of being sarcastic, whoever this author is of this article. Here we go. The most important lesson you'll ever learn. Any competent surveillance team, no matter which agency it's from, will use your preconceptions, prejudices, and personal biases against you. So stop leaping to conclusions based on people's appearance. Get back and read the last sentence again. Ooh, sorry for that yawn. So let me do that again because it made me yawn. So stop leaping to conclusions based on people's appearance. All right. So don't assume just because you see it's an old lady that she can't be a part of the gang stalking, basically, or even a teenager or um, whatever, you know? I know with my personal experience, I know I've experienced old people being a part of it, no doubt. Anyways, let's get back to it. If you want to catch surveillance teams, you need to start evaluating people based on what they do, not what they look like. So that means you need to start catching on, guys, onto the way people just behave around you, the way they act around you. Look for the subtle cues, even like little hand signals. What to you might look like some kind of just funny behavior might actually be something, more than meets the eye. You know what I'm saying? And then it says here, to catch spooks, you need to size people up by their behavior, not their appearance. Yeah, just like I said. So you need to start practicing your observational skills as a TI. And I'm sure most of us already have good observational skills because they have us hyper vigilant, or they just have us being, vigilant of our surroundings. So we notice every little thing, right? Okay, here we go. Fundamental tactics. Oh. As you learned in the previous article in this series, the FBI utilizes a floating box to track you during a vehicle surveillance operation. The essential components of the box are the command vehicle, the backup vehicle, the left and right outrider vehicles, and the advance vehicle. Under typical circumstances, the floating box is a powerful and versatile system of vehicle surveillance. The only occasions that cause concern to the FBI are when the target makes a turn. Are you guys catching on? So, make lots of turns. As you learned in the previous tutorial, a surveillance vehicle that follows a target around the corner is easy to spot. The illustration below shows how the FBI has overcome this weakness. Now, this right here I can attest to. I've seen this many times. Where, according to this diagram, we see two cheating vehicles. And here comes the target, right? So even if, let's say you're headed to a store and there's two routes to get to that store, well, they're going to cover both of those routes so that they have you covered at all times. This is crazy because this is exactly what I've seen and what I've experienced myself. But let's get on with this. The cheating intersection. Okay. When the target is approaching a decision point and his or her direction of travel cannot be predicted by the FBI, the surveillance team leader makes certain that two FBI vehicles are in front of the target's vehicle. This is a deadly tactic. It has meant the ruin of many suspects who thought they could beat FBI surveillance. Now, this is just my own personal notes that I'm going to throw in here. I'm getting the vibe that this is more for like what I'm talking about, what I've been reading. I think this is more for like targets that they really want to put behind bars, more so than us targeted individuals. Although it's not to say that they do use a lot of these same damn tactics. But I'm just saying it seems like this article's geared more towards say trying to catch a drug kingpin, for example, or somebody that's the head of a trafficking organization. But either way, we know what we're up against, and we know it's the FBI's, a part of this. And of course, they're going to use a lot of these techniques against targeted individuals. So let me read this note right here that's in gray. It says, disclosures about FBI tradecraft like this have never been made public. This spy and counter spy exclusive is possible only because our offices are just across the border in Canada, 9 miles outside the reach of the FBI's goon squads. Okay, so this is apparently coming out of Canada. And here I am reading about it. Well, we'll take a chance, right? I mean, what the hell? They already came and did a damn interview of me at my work, which I'm pretty sure now that was my coworker who called the FBI on me. That was messed up. If you guys are curious about that, whoever's watching this video, go way back into my feed or into my videos and you'll see that FBI interview. Okay, let's get back to this. Each cheating FBI vehicle takes a different route. The FBI has every possible scenario covered. No matter which route you choose, a cheating FBI surveillance vehicle has you covered. Many targets of surveillance have been repeatedly fooled by this tactic. The illustration below shows a more common implementation of this intersection maneuver. Good, now we have another illustration to look at. At a typical intersection, the target vehicle can proceed in 3 different directions: left, right, or straight ahead. In a high-priority investigation where the FBI does not want to be detected, the team leader will place 3 surveillance vehicles ahead of the target. As shown above, each vehicle takes a, okay, yeah, we already saw that one. As shown above, each vehicle takes a possible route that the target might take. It doesn't matter which direction the target chooses, he or she is covered by a cheating command vehicle. This technique is very difficult to detect in the short term. See the 4th tutorial, yada, yada, yada. Here we go. The technique is also expensive in terms of personnel and vehicles. So the FBI uses it mainly at major intersections. Side street situations are handled by the method depicted below. Okay, side street situations are handled by the method depicted below. Okie dokie. Let's study this right here. So we are the blue car. We are the target. So if you go up and you take a right, okay, so it's just almost the same thing as the floating box. It's just that those green boxes look like they're indicating maybe like buildings or whatever, intersections, something. Let's go down here. But basically, they're just always keeping pace with you and turn for turn, whatever you do. That's what it looks like to me. Well, that's what it is, right? How a floating box, that's what it is. How a floating box turns. Okay. When the target makes a right turn at an intersection, the right outsider also turns right and becomes the new advance vehicle, as shown above. Other members of the surveillance team also transform their roles. The former advance vehicle becomes the new left outrider. The backup vehicle becomes the new right side outrider, and the left side outrider becomes the new command vehicle. All right. In the situation above, the former command vehicle usually continues straight through the intersection so as not to attract to itself. It will be replaced by another FBI agent being held in reserve by the team leader. The same principles apply when the target makes a left turn at a side street intersection. Because this type of maneuver by the surveillance team results in predictable positions, an experienced target can use a deliberate turn as an anti-surveillance method to detect the outriders and advance units of the surveillance team. For more information about anti-surveillance and counter-surveillance techniques, see the 4th tutorial in this 5-part series. Now, I told you guys before on the first video that I did where I read about the floating box, Unfortunately, they don't have the third, fourth, or fifth articles, which really stinks because it sounds like that would have been what we could have used the most. Okay, so here we go. Special situations. An especially troublesome situation for the vehicle surveillance teams is a sudden U-turn by the target. In many instances, the vehicle has no way of knowing if the target simply missed his turn or if he is executing a deliberate anti-surveillance or counter-surveillance maneuver. The illustration below depicts how the FBI typically responds to a sudden U-turn. So if you make it looks like we got to be strategic on making our U-turns so that the person behind us cannot easily counter our U-turn. So that's a good way to counter if you're being followed. U-turns. And just keep an eye out to see who the vehicles that are from behind you, see which ones somehow kind of end up back behind you again. Here we go. The backup vehicle immediately makes a left turn. This puts the FBI agent in a position to monitor the target and slip in behind him as he drives past. While this is happening, the other members of the surveillance team will be doing their best to deploy in the new configuration. Many newcomers who find themselves under FBI vehicle surveillance soon grasp the idea that U-turns are an effective way to befuddle the surveillance team. These newbies tend to make a U-turn and then try to detect vehicles following them. What they should be doing instead is watching for a vehicle making a quick left turn in response to the target's sudden U-turn. Anti-surveillance tip. Over a period of a few days, make a few unpredictable, sudden U-turns. If you see a pattern of vehicles turning away immediately after you U-turn, you may be under surveillance. Diversions and decoys. The FBI has become sophisticated in its use of diversions and decoys to cover the activities of its vehicle surveillance teams. Ooh, look at this. Diversion 1, tailgating. That inconsiderate driver tailgating you is not always just some schmuck. The FBI has found that this diversion is an excellent way to take your mind off other things that may be happening around you, like surveillance, for example. Diversion number 2, musical chairs. You're stopped at a red light, and the bozo in the red car ahead of you gets out and rummages through his trunk. Yeah, right. You get the picture? Damn, you know what? I have seen that before, but except he didn't go into his trunk. He just went into his back seat and then went into his gym bag. Wow, what do you know? Here we go. Diversion number 3, confused drivers. They take forever to make a left turn. Ooh, I've experienced that many times. Or they straddle lanes. I've experienced that many times. Or they start to make a U-turn and then change their mind and continue on. I have experienced that a couple times. All of this happens directly in front of you, of course. It's an effective distraction. It's also an effective way to delay you while the rest of the surveillance team gets back into position after a mistake. Or it could even be a red light. You know, people are trying to catch up, or somebody slowed them down and now they're trying to play catch up. You know, there's many possible reasons why they create these diversions, right? Diversion number 4, sloppy drivers. This is the same maneuver as above, except that the FBI agent pretends, keyword, pretends to be a reckless driver. He might drive over the curb. He might speed and careen recklessly. Anything to get your mind off the situation and allow the other members of the surveillance team to escape detection. Diversion number 5, honeypots. Now, I think a lot of TIs are familiar with that term, but let's see what it means in the world of vehicle surveillance. The FBI will use pedestrians, attractive agents of the opposite gender, to distract you while driving. They use this ruse a lot more than most people realize. It's an incredibly effective way to divert the attention of the target. They'll also use customized cars and other eye-catching items or behavior to capture your attention. Wow, now that makes sense to one of the videos that I posted, like in one of the, like towards the very beginning of my gang stalking. What I experienced was, as I was driving over the bridge that goes across the Rio Grande River here in New Mexico, and the Rio Grande's not a big river. While you have what grows alongside the Rio Grande, they call it a bosque, and that's Spanish for like, I'm not really quite sure, but it's basically a bosque is like kind of like a miniature forest type of deal. And it just grows. It's like a little forest that grows alongside the river. That's all. It just doesn't extend anything out further than beyond, like, the banks of the river and whatnot. But there's nothing to see in there. There's nothing to see in there. And this one time as I was driving, and I can't make this up, there was a couple of girls that were wearing what looked like Daisy Duke type shorts, and they were like leaning over, kind of almost leaning over the guardrail, right, of the bridge, and taking photos of something in the bosque. Whatever, and I didn't even, like, I saw them, but I knew better than to just, look over and be like, gawking at them or staring or anything. I knew something was fishy about that whole scene. So here we go. Let's get down to this now. It says supporting the foot surveillance team. FBI surveillance vehicles often contain one or two additional FBI agents besides the driver. This provides good cover. Most targets don't suspect a car containing a group of people. This is not the reason, however, that the FBI uses groups. The extra people in the surveillance vehicle are there for a reason. They are important assets in the FBI's arsenal of surveillance tricks. Foot surveillance. Here we go. When the target parks his vehicle and sets off on foot, the vehicle surveillance team switches modes. The wheel artist immediately began dropping off the pavement artist, who will form a floating box around the walking target. The vehicle surveillance team then assumes a support role, assisting the foot surveillance team. In particular, an FBI vehicle surveillance team will support the foot surveillance team in 5 ways. Ooh, and they give them to us. Let's get to them. Support role number 1, transition. The wheel artist drops off the foot agents in a floating box around a target who has just left his or her vehicle. Support role number 2, leapfrogging. During the foot follow, the wheel artist will pick up, carry, and drop off FBI pavement artist at locations ahead of the walking target. This makes it easier to maintain a secure floating box around the target by leapfrogging members of the FBI team to locations where they are needed. Support role number 3, communications. The vehicle surveillance team will provide reception and rebroadcast of the low-range body communications equipment of the FBI foot surveillance agents. This is important in locations where radio reception can be difficult, such as high-density urban situations with concrete and steel buildings. Anti-surveillance tip. Look for a vehicle with a lone occupant at high elevation, atop a parkade, for example. During a foot surveillance operation in difficult terrain, downtown, for example, this FBI agent is positioned to receive weak transmissions from a pavement artist and rebroadcast them to the rest of the team. Support role number 4, orientation. The wheel artist will provide map and direction finding support to the pavement artist. This is particularly helpful during a lost command drill, where the foot surveillance team has temporarily lost sight of the target. Map support also helps the foot surveillance team anticipate upcoming obstacles. Support role number 5, transportation. After the target returns to his or her vehicle, the vehicle surveillance team picks up the foot operators and carries them to the next location. Conclusion. When implemented properly, the FBI's floating box strategy is an effective vehicle surveillance system that gets results. Most targets never realize they're being watched. Those targets who manage to detect a command vehicle or backup vehicle are likely to be lulled into a false sense of safety by the cheating command vehicles and cheating intersection maneuvers. The mix of agent silhouettes and vehicles used by the surveillance team makes detection extremely difficult for the untrained target. So the rest of this is just talking about the other articles that unfortunately are not in here, which really sucks. And let's see what it says on here. What else do we got? Uncrackable email 1. I have no idea what that is. I never clicked on it. How the FBI cracks PGP email. Okay, so this will just be email stuff. Email. What is this? Can you trust us? The urban setting, think it through, NSA. Learning the basics. Look at that. It says the FBI is not just a police agency. It is more than that. It is a security service. Wow, look at that. There are important differences between police agencies and security services. Every government has a security service. The mission of a security service is to suppress anti-government activity. That's because the prime directive of a government is to stay in power. This means that most governments see their own population as the most serious threat. That's where the security service comes in. This means suppressing dissent and criticism. It means preserving the status quo. It means keeping the government in power, no matter whether the government rules with the consent of the people or without the consent of the people. As we're seeing right now, guys, the FBI has become weaponized. So straight up, that's a fact. Look around you. It is a self-evident truth that the nastier the government, the nastier its security service. Isn't that the truth right now? Seriously. Referring to a security service as the thought police is not too far from the truth. The FBI understandably does not have a history of respect for civil rights in its capacity as a security service. The FBI's record of unconstitutional and illegal actions against American citizens is readily available to anyone who takes the trouble to investigate. But don't overlook the bigger picture. The FBI is not out of control. On the contrary, it is very much in control. The FBI is acting with the knowledge and approval of the government. The FBI is, after all, the government's security service. The FBI is responsible for protecting the government from the people. The people, alas, have no such protections from the government. Until now. Okay, so then it talks about this website, what they're about, wake up call. See, but there's nothing else in here. They don't have any contact information, nothing. It just it's a bummer. All right, guys. Um, it's unfortunate that this website just doesn't have the rest of those articles 3, 4, and 5 for the vehicle surveillance. And trust me, I've already scoured the web looking for those other articles. I can't find them. If you guys do, you're very lucky. Please share them with me. Um, Not really much else to chat about, you know? I mean, this article kind of, or what I talked about earlier, right, with the vehicle surveillance, pretty much just explained everything, you know, as far as like some of the surveillance techniques that we're dealing with and that we go through as TIs. But at least if there's anything that you know you can take away from this, it's just just know that you're not alone. You're not alone going through this. I'm reading this because I'm going through this, and I want other people to try to have at least some sort of education about what we're going through. Um, I'll continue scouring the net for whatever I can, and when I find some pretty interesting stuff or whatever I think sounds helpful, I'll definitely be making some more videos. But in the meantime, all we can do, guys, is let's just continue to try to live our lives with no fear. Continue to imagine this beautiful light shining around you, this beautiful light of protection, just this golden light of protection constantly surrounding you. And if you also want to pray to Jesus, pray to God, do so as well. Just know that you're divinely protected no matter what you're going through. So stay strong, and much love to everyone. Take care.